Hi, it's Meredith Winston from Paper Canteen, and I'm here to show you a little quick how-to on how to make these paper rosettes that are very popular right now. I've been working on them for a couple of months, and I have it down pat, so I'm going to do a quick little tutorial for you. So you'll notice I have a smaller size rosette here and a medium size rosette here. I've used two different colored cardstock to create the larger or the wider rosette, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So the supplies I have today, I've got my Tim Holtz rosette die, and this is actually the mini paper rosette die. It has two different sizes. It has a small size and a medium size, and there is a larger die that goes that's a different you can purchase separately from here, but I'm going to show you how to make the larger version even bigger to work for your needs. So we're going to start by, I'm using some craft cardstock, and I'm going to lay it right over my die. And you'll notice the die is substantially long. It's longer than most dies. It's about 12.5 inches. So I do have to make two runs through my Big Shot die cutting machine to make it work for me. So I'm going to use some low tack painter's tape. You could use masking tape, scotch tape, just something low tack to keep the paper in place when you have to pull it out of the die cut machine and thread it through the second time. So I'm going to grab my cutting stacks. And I'm going to bring it right up to the very edge to accommodate as much of the die as I can while I roll it through. Okay. Now you'll notice when I pull it out, the paper is cut only as long as my die cutting machine. But you'll also notice that it doesn't wiggle when I need to feed it back through to cut the rest of the die. So it's a nice handy trick. Okay. Alright, so now you'll notice that when I'm ready to peel off, the paper comes right off. Or the painter's tape that comes right off is what I meant to say. And for some reason my little ends didn't quite snip there, so I'm just going to use my scissors to just separate those from the end. I think my plates were hanging off the edge just a little bit too much, so we'll discard that. So now don't worry about having the tape on the back, because that's going to be the back of your rosette, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like. One bit of advice I have that I received when I took a class, I received from Jennifer McGuire when I took an online card class with her, was to use some kind of tape. You can use scotch tape, washi tape, or any other kind of paper tape to adhere to the back of your paper rosette. The reason for that is that you have all of these nice little perforations that will create the folds in your rosette, but when you bend them, depending on the type of cardstock you're using, they can tear a little bit, and that kind of ruins your rosette. So you want to just give it a little bit more stability, and again, it doesn't matter what the back looks like because nobody's going to see it. So we're going to make the smaller one first. So I'm just going to start accordion folding each of these little pleats, and you don't want to be too rough with them because again, you don't want them to tear because that will ruin your rosette and you have to start all over again. And we definitely don't want to waste cardstock. So I fold and I squeeze, just making sure they're kind of all in alignment. Okay. And now I let it go, and you'll notice that it's all nice and accordion pleated. Now I use hot glue to adhere the two ends together. You could use something like Glossy Accents or another strong liquid adhesive, but it does take a couple of extra minutes to dry. So hot glue is really nice because it dries really quickly. I'm going to place those two ends together and just hold it for a second. And now you'll have your accordion circle. So I want to have the scallops on the outside of my rosette. So I want to make sure that I face those down toward my cutting mat, which you'll notice I'm using a score mat, which is on top of my Score Pal, which are two of my favorite crafting tools. Now, I'm going to use a little scrap of paper. You could use a circle punch. You could use the circle that comes on the end of the rosette die, one of these, if you wanted to. But we just need something to hold the glue so we can create our rosette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this scratch of paper, just put some hot glue right in the center, and I'm going to take my rosette with the scallop side down, or whatever edges you want on the outside. I'm going to, with 2 hands, fold all those little tiny pleats together right into that hot glue. And those pleats are very strong, and the paper is very strong, so I'm going to add some extra hot glue right there in the center and push it all together. Now don't worry about the excess glue that comes out the front. We're going to use a little embellishment to cover that, so you don't really have to worry about what it looks like or any glue escaping. If I'm trying to multitask, you can use something like an acrylic block, or I use my flour frog to place right on top to hold that while the glue really dries nicely. Okay, now for the center of my embellishment, I used a little wooden circle that I coated with craft ink and then clear heat embossed with my heat gun, my heat tool. But for today, I'm going to show you, I misplaced my cardstock. One of my favorite touches that I like to do is I like to use distress ink. I always keep my tea dye colored distress ink right at my desktop along with an ink blending tool. It's a really nice neutral color and it goes with most cardstock. So what I'm going to do is, just to make those pleats pop a little bit, give it a little bit of a vintage look, I'm going to use my ink blending tool and some tea dye ink. I'm just going to lightly go around the edges. Now you'll notice I'm being kind of rough with this now because the hot glue has settled and it's very sturdy. You can feel this is not going anywhere. This isn't going to pop open. It's not going to tear. And there's the back. And again, it doesn't really matter what the back looks like because nobody's going to see it. I also remember to do the edges. Okay, it gives it also a nice full look. So now I'm just going to adhere my little wooden embellishment that I created. I just took my Versamark, my Brilliance pearlescent ink, my craft ink, and I covered it, and then I coated it in clear embossing powder, and then I heat set it really quickly. Just going to center that on the front of my embellishment. Okay, and there you have it. Now I will just really quickly go over how to create the double rosette that I've done here. Sorry. There's the turquoise on the outside and the yellow on the inside. And what I did is I took 2 of the larger strips and I stacked them on top of each other. And then I created the rosette the same way. So you could use craft cardstock and another colored cardstock and create the embellishment the same way. Thank you again for popping by today. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks a lot.